Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We are going to deep dive into the Law of One raw material. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a background about me and why I teach the Law of One and help people understand the Law of One, because it could be kind of like reading Shakespeare if you're just reading the books. But you do get something out of it every time you go through it. Every word that is written has got so much meaning into it. Ra is very good at using the perfect English language word to describe what he's trying to say. But I'll give you guys a little bit of background on me, as a person that teaches the Law of One raw material. So I went through an awakening in 2018. Prior to that, I was not spiritual. I would have considered myself just an atheist. I did a lot of traveling around the world, like over 30 countries, and every country I went to had a completely different religion and perspective. And so everyone's religion to me it completely depended upon who your parents were and where you were born. If I went to Muslim countries, it was 100% Muslim, because it was illegal to practice Christianity in some of these countries. Or if I went to, India, it's all Hindi, and you go to China, and it's just I was atheist. But when I had an awakening in 2018, I had really no idea about spirituality. It's almost like having, I guess, a Kundalini awakening. You can't force, I don't think, an awakening. A lot of people want an awakening, a spiritual awakening, where they have access to different densities in the universe and octaves and timelines, and everyone wants to the people that want to have an awakening, and they spend so much time meditating, and they're always trying to sit in high vibrations of love, wanting more. And that wasn't me. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I had no idea what was happening to me. All of a sudden, I knew things, having never studied them or read a book on them or have ever heard of something, and I would get full understanding of it. And it kind of freaked me out, and I became incredibly psychic at times. You know how everyone's a little bit psychic, like you have a song in your head for no reason, but as soon as you get in your car and the radio starts playing that song, it's like, yeah, everyone's a little bit psychic. But that was like happening to me like every minute for a while, and I couldn't understand it, and I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't know how to dull it. Other things started happening. Entities started coming into my room at night and just scaring the crap out of me. And I'm like, what do I do? When things like that happen to you. And so I had to really kind of deep dive, and thank God there was the internet, because I don't know how people got through things like this before, when there wasn't online communities to try to explain to you what's happening when you're going through an awakening. And so started learning very, very quickly about spirituality, about consciousness, about frequencies, about things like that. And the more I started just kind of researching, trying to explain some of these things that were happening to me, it was when I came across the raw material. And after I had gotten through the books, first of all, it was very weird when I was going through it, because I knew the answers that Ra was giving before he gave them. Every time a question was asked, I already knew the answer. And so that was very weird when I was going through the books. I knew the knowledge without having ever read these books before or knowing who Ra was. So I couldn't figure out what was happening to me in that regard either. And so I was constantly looking for answers, right? And I was listening to Dolores Cannon, and when she was talking about the 3 waves of volunteers, and I knew I was part of the second wave, I had a knowing that I was here for one gig. I knew I wasn't here to have kids. I was here for something else. I was here for... I was different than other people. Like, I didn't have nostalgia for anything here. And everyone else talked about it, from different times of the past, that people have nostalgia for things. And I never had any of that. And so when I was hearing about Dolores Cannon going into the past lives, I'm not one of those people that can go into trance, like people that do channeling or to people that can do really deep meditation. I wasn't one of those people that would be able to go into trance to figure out my past lives, but I was curious. So I went to a certain type of channeling. So there's two different types of channeling. There's channeling that you can do where the person is like awake and standing and walking, and it's like they're channeling someone that's like riding side seat to them, like Abraham Hicks. That's one type of channeling. Then there's the type of channeling that Carla does. So the first person that I got to channel for me was a woman from, I think, Manchester, New York. During the channeling, she called me a starseed, a volunteer, and she was recanting the conversation I was having with my friends before I came to Earth. And I told them I was coming to Earth, and they all started just laughing like I was just crazy to come to Earth. Right? And this woman in Manchester, she doesn't know me. She's got my email address, and that was it. So it's not like she's like this huge fraud, but she didn't go very deep into it. That's about all I got from her. I wanted to know who I was. I think a lot of people that have awakenings, or people that want to have an awakening, they want to know what their purpose is. Like, what should they be doing? How can I help Earth? How can I help humanity? I need to be doing something. Should I be teaching? Should I be, everyone wants to find their purpose. Everyone wants to kind of find out the reason why they came to Earth, which is, I think, a natural thing. But you don't have to. Knowing who you were in your past lives is not important, actually, for this one. I started having doubt, and I was still really confused about the things that were happening to me. I wanted to know more about where I'm from and what I'm doing here. And I found a guy in northern India. He was a young guy, and like a lot of people in India, their English is and their accent is not that great. It's pretty broken English, a low vocabulary, but when this guy channeled, it was perfect English and vocabulary off the charts, and I was just like, whoa. So I figured he's the real McCoy. And so I got in touch with him. I asked him if he can channel my higher self, where I'm from and why I'm here, and any other information my higher self thinks that it would be good for me to know. And that's it. That's all I gave him. I gave him my name. And when he went under and started doing the channeling for me, he told me that I was a wanderer that came here, and I was part of the Raw Collective. And I had a past life on Maldek, and I had went to Maldek to teach the Law of One, but it was unsuccessful. So when Earth came to the same place as where Maldek was at the end of their third density to come to Earth to teach the Law of One. And so that's why I volunteered. And this guy, all I gave him was my name to channel my higher self with. So it was confirmation, and it made sense, about why I knew the Law of One so well, having never studied it, how I was able to know it before I even read it. So that's why I started putting up the books online. And I wanted to put the books up in kind of like their entirety. I didn't want to edit anything out. I would leave it to the people if they want to fast forward or skip some stuff. But I want to start putting up lessons to deep dive into the Law of One, because even though you go through all the books and all the material, everyone still has like a ton more questions about what the Law of One really is, and how the densities function, and what our history is, and how many facets are involved in the construction of intelligent infinity. I get a lot of people, especially family members, always asking me to explain something to them. And so I've gotten pretty good at trying to get the point across in plain English, because even though the Law of One's in English, it's like Shakespeare. It's English, but does it make sense always? No. So other people were coming up to me with these questions, and to me, it was just so clear. Other things happened to me. I started going out of body a lot, and I'm not very good at it, because I keep getting lost. I don't know how people navigate out of body, and I don't really have anyone here to teach me, but that's about me. That's about my background, about how I had my awakening and how I confirmed that I'm part of the Raw Collective. Everything made sense as time went on about things that I've done. For instance, when I was in my early 20s, I was backpacking through Europe, and I was just compelled to go to Egypt by myself, which I don't recommend. But man, was I ever infatuated with it. And when we talk about Ra, where Ra is from, Ra's original planet was Venus. My dog, who is now 14, almost 10 years before my awakening, I got my first dog. The first dog that was my dog, like no one else's dog, not the family dog, not your couple's dog, my dog. And I named her Venus. When I look back and I really put my life together, it seems obvious, but it wasn't obvious until after my awakening. So the population on the planet Venus, when they graduated into 6th density, once you graduate into 6th density, you are no longer tangible. Like you don't necessarily it's not like you have a body and you need to drink water and things like that. You can be just light, especially when you get into 6th density. There's no more really communities and cities and things like that you have to build. All 6th density civilizations peter out because of the utopian of it. And once your consciousness gets so high, you don't really need a planet anymore. You can do everything you want through your own consciousness. And Ra is called, it's a collective. So Ra is already in 6th density, really wanting to be 7th density. Rapidly approaching it, actually. I graduated with the Ra collective, I would say at the tail end of the collective. So I know I'm from 6th density, but I barely snuck in with the Ra collective. And the Ra collective is, I think, 6 million, like what you can call souls, 6 million frequencies that have collected together. And the reason why they're together is because they love each other so much. Like when you love something so much and you only have love for them, and you have spent millions, what you can call millions of years together, and you're to the point where you no longer have to speak to each other because everything's telepathic. Like you are in constant telecommunication with all 6 million of you for millions of years. So when that happens and you never want to be apart, it's not like 3rd density here where you need your own me time. No, when you get into those higher densities and you have had millions of years with the same frequency of entities, you love them so much you never want to be apart. Like if anyone has ever had a partner or a wife or husband that you loved so much, you never wanted to be apart from them. Like you were fine if you would occupy the same body, and that's what the Ra collective is. It's an entire population of the planet Venus that has been together for millions of years that is now a collective. So you want to think of it that way, and that's who Ra is. Now, the Law of One, the books, channeling sessions from Carla, and the kind of channeling that Carla did, like she went so deep into trance that technically her consciousness left her body, and the Ra consciousness was able to plug into her body and play her vocal cords and her body like an instrument. And they call her the instrument in the books because that's what she is. They were playing her vocal cords like they were playing a violin. They were making her body produce the sound and the words that they wanted to get through. And it was done in the early 80s. I forget how many sessions there were, over 100 sessions. And they were very, very hard on Carla. Apparently she would lose like 3 pounds a day doing these sessions. That's how much it took out of her. And she almost, she almost became a martyr because she had so much belief in what she was doing with the scientists that really were trying to do some in-depth research on the Law of One, and they put out the books. And the books are free. They don't charge for it unless you want a hard copy. Anyone can look at it, download it, read it, teach it. They really made it public knowledge, and I have a lot of admiration for them for doing that. So I'm just going to give you guys an outline of what these classes and sessions and lessons are going to be. So we will be doing, firstly, I think we're going to start with just definitions that Ra uses throughout the books. So we'll go through the definitions, and I'm going to go through all the densities up to the 7th density and about what is happening in each density, how long they are, what's involved in each density when you graduate from one to the other. We're also going to get into some good history about Ra, when Ra was here, how he built the pyramids, and I actually have a very, very good understanding about how the pyramids were built. When Ra was here on Earth, Ra has only been here a few times, and building the pyramids was one of them, one of the times that he was here. I'm just going to leave it there as an introduction, and in the next video we will actually start with the definitions for the law of one raw material. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let's get a community going, because we can all help each other understand this material and understand where we fit into everything as we close out this 11th hour of the third density. We all wanted to be here for this, all of us. Everyone fought actually to get here, because everyone wanted to be on Earth during the awakening. So thanks for listening, guys. I will see you in the next video for the law of one raw material.